Yeah, our server at the restaurant definitely had a lot to say.
Yeah, I love that though.
Well, I like talking to servers and like engaging with people, especially like beyond just the kind of normal pleasantries, like where are you from and all that stuff. But once we asked a couple questions to this guy, it was his whole life story.
I know.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to With the Heathers podcast. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. We got a lot of good feedback from the last episode.
Yes, we did.
And we really appreciate it. So help us out, like this video, subscribe to the channel, so we can keep making content. We like doing it. For me, making content's like a hobby.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a pastor and he was saying, oh, I like to golf. And I just said, cannot golf. I'd rather throw a golf club than hit a ball with it. But I was like, yeah, I make content. Like I just video and vlog and you know, we record.
That's like the thing you do. That's fun.
Thing. It like helps me kind of decompress and we're obviously just enjoying what we're doing ministry wise, but it's nice to be able to just talk to my wife.
Yeah. Where are we?
Where are we?
Where are we?
We're married. We're doing great.
No, but
oh, I thought you meant like where are we in our relationship?
Well, that too. No, just kidding. Yeah. No, where are we? We're like in a different space.
Yes,
we're not on the teal couch.
Yeah, we are officially. Yeah, we're recording from a hotel in Cleveland. We are in downtown Cleveland. Came in last night.
Yes.
And how did that come to get? How are we here without our child? How does this happen?
Yeah, Addie's not here. So our anniversary was a week ago from yesterday. 1 year. And my sister and mom wanted to gift us with the weekend out of town or whatever. So my mom is in town because my sister had Everest. Everest, if you're watching this back as an adult, hi.
We love you, Everest.
You were almost born in the truck.
So cute.
Crazy. So my mom's in town taking care of helping Mariah postpartum, all that stuff like that. And she said that she would stay with Addie overnight at our house and we could come out of town, just you and I. Yeah,
we needed it, y'all. You got to have, I think our pastors taught us 777 is the goal. Once a week, date nights. Every 7 weeks, get out of town for a night. And then every 7 months, like
try a vacation. Trip.
Yeah, at least a week or a couple days. But we really enjoyed it. So shout out to Mary.
Yeah, that's good. Dating advice. Every 7 days, every 7 months, or every 7 weeks, every 7 months.
Yes, take the time to be together on stuff. Fix that. So it's great. But how have you been just in the last 24 hours? How's it feel to just be away from Fredonia for a second? And
I just feel like everything, I don't know. I feel like yesterday at church was incredible.
Yeah.
It was so powerful. I was so refreshed. I feel like I got a word. I feel like I had some really powerful time with Jesus.
Yeah.
Not even that the service was good and they were packed and worship was incredible because that all happened. But like personally, I feel like I had an encounter.
Well, yesterday was like one of the first Sundays where I think both of us were on the front row for worship.
Oh yeah.
Like normally like I'm on drums or she's singing and I'm on the front row or vice versa. And it was the first day where like during worship we were standing together, we held hands
and
we were
lifted our hands and I was like, this is the first
together. Because, you know, especially anyone watching in ministry, you know how easily it is to just be so focused on making Sundays happen, like the details and making sure the people show up, make sure the plan is there.
And you're just serving. You're like in a role.
Just serving people. And sometimes you can forget you need to encounter God too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was so refreshing to do that.
Yes.
We went home after church. We stayed around and talked though for a minute.
Yeah. So church is good. Then we hung out with some people after.
Yeah.
Next Sunday, small group Sunday. So everybody's like super excited.
Yeah. Like some of the best moments of church have been like we got done with church, both services, and people just stand around and talk.
I love that. Yeah. That makes me so happy. It's crazy because when we started meeting a year ago in the theater, it was like church happened and it was within like 120 seconds after it was cleared, empty because nobody knew each other yet. There was no community built yet. There was no like friendship or the idea of like hanging out with each other after church was not a thing yet. So, which is a big part of like why I love at post church is like after church and before church for those little windows of time are literally my favorite time. Now that we have integrated that into the church culture, it's like the Sundays are they've been so awesome. Much better.
Yeah, we've been telling our team like 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after is very important to the service because those are when you're actually touching and feeling and being around. You know,
yeah, it turns into more like 20 minutes before and like can go up to 2 hours after church.
Well, I learned that Jensen Franklin, he always says that like pastors, after you preach, you need to get around your people. Like go touch.
You should smell like your sheep.
Talk, pray for people. And so we've been trying to implement that on Sundays where we got stuff to do Sunday afternoons. We got a kid, we got problems, we got to go to the store, we got things to cover. But we know we can't just rush out of a spiritual experience because we have a schedule. It's like some people, this is the moment they've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And so rather than just being like, church is over, time to go home, look for God in the atrium just as much as in the sanctuary.
Yeah, it's good. So we did church, went home. Addie stayed home with my mom. And then literally just hung out with Addie, played with her for like an hour, had lunch together, cooked together, did all this stuff.
Yep.
And then we
got her down for a nap,
packed our bags,
hit the road. Yeah. We drove 2 hours. So downtown Cleveland is about 2 hours from where we live. And we were going to go to Buffalo, which we'll talk a little bit about Buffalo in a second. But we just kind of were like, we want something different.
We've never been to Cleveland together.
Yeah, we've never spent the night out here together. We've never visited the town together. Mm-hmm. And so after we film today, we're going to go check out a few things, a couple of restaurants.
It's just crazy how many big cities are around us.
Right.
Even though we're like in the middle of not a lot of places.
A lot of my friends in Cali will be like, how's it like living in a small town? And I told Pastor Andrew, I was like, it's not bad when you actually have these great cultures just 2 hours away.
Yeah.
You can go to Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh is a whole different vibe. And then Buffalo, and if you really want a vibe, go all the way up to Niagara Falls.
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto is 3 hours north of us. We want to start going east one of these days and check out, we've been to Rochester.
Been to Rochester once.
But we want to go further. We want to check out Syracuse sometime, and Albany maybe.
Yeah, and then this is the year.
Get to the boroughs.
This is the year of the boroughs.
Yeah. I told Giovanni, shout out to Giovanni, he drives a Prius. We want to borrow his Prius so we can drive to New York City.
Yeah, please don't make us drive our car.
Yeah, because it's a 6 hour drive.
6.5 hours.
500 miles or something.
Yeah, and then we have a bunch of college students now that live in the city, and they're like, stay with us. And I'm like, you got it, dude.
Yes, that's right. So we have a bunch of people that were in school, live in the city, live in Long Island or Brooklyn.
Just
or something
attend
like
Fredonia State.
Yeah, and they're like, come through anytime. We said, you said it.
Yeah. So we're here.
Yeah.
We're in Cleveland. We're celebrating. Last night we went and had sushi at this really cool vibey place called Sora.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was kind of not packed when we got there.
Oh gosh.
There was 2 people there when we got there. And then they must have been having a party or something.
A reunion. I think it was like a class reunion.
Yeah, it was like a class reunion because we sat right next to these other 2 people. And then before you know it, 30 people showed up. And everyone's like, ah! And we're just trying to eat
so loud. It got so loud. And we were both like, overstimulation.
Okay, so how do you deal with that when people are too loud in a restaurant? What's the first thing you think?
What I would do, but I know would make you nervous, is move tables. But I knew that would freak you out.
Well, moving tables does freak me out. I think it's
because asking anything above the what they've already done is freaks you out.
Yeah. When it comes to restaurant servers, food orders, I don't have the boldness you have.
Yeah, I would.
They mess up my order, I'll just eat it.
No, see, I'm so nice about it. I would never ever be mean to somebody who's when food service. But
you would say, excuse me?
I'd say, is there any way that we could move tables? Because I would never ask a party to be quiet. I would never complain to a server that they're too loud. Instead, I would just remove myself from the situation. Y'all keep having a good time.
Have your thing. We're going to go in that corner.
And we're going to go sit in the corner so that we don't interrupt what y'all have planned tonight.
Well, it's funny because this morning I went to the coffee shop downstairs and I was watching 21 Days of Prayer and was just sitting there praying. And I was waiting for my drink to get called. Mm-hmm. So every now and then I would just kind of lift my ear thing and then close it. And then I would lift the other side of my headphone and close it. And then the third time I did it, there was this other girl that was talking to one of her friends. And she looked over and she says, oh, I'm sorry if I'm being too loud. She goes, I see you keep lifting your headphones. And I'm like, I was just waiting to see if they call my drink. You're fine. And she goes, oh, okay. But I was in a moment, I'm like, something about public loudness. It just causes either some people really genuinely apologize. Other times they're like, oh, am I talking too loud?
Yeah. Yeah.
They go off on you.
You in downtown Cleveland, dog.
Yeah, we're in Cleveland, y'all. We love it here, though. Cleveland rocks, as they say. So yeah, it's been a great time just to get away. We're church planners, as many of you guys watching know. So we're in a couple weeks, we'll be 1 year since launch, which we did it. Still married, still love Jesus, still here. Mm-hmm. 1 year since we launched, 2 years since we moved.
Yep.
And we've just been reflecting a lot about the demand on planting a church, not just being a couple and not just being pastors. And I thought that you gave some great insight on marriage in our last episode. So if you haven't checked out episode 2, check it out. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on just church planting and the God ordained year we've had, but also how challenging it's been.
Yeah.
How much God has probably attached our hearts to these cities.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when we first moved, it was like, we're moving for this town. And then once you get there, you're like, oh, wow, it's actually this county. And then you actually start recognizing like the needs like up in Buffalo or down like in Erie. And you say, okay, maybe we're here for this region, you know, and start connecting with pastors. So what's the last year been like for you as a church planter? What's been like some of your memories?
Yeah, I think the first year felt like I was fostering an area, like I was a foster parent. Like there was this fear of accepting that this is where we really are. And you love this thing in this region or these people in front of you, but you feel like, I felt like, I'm like, okay, is this like certain? Like, yes, this is where I'm called. I'll take care of this while I have it. And I think year 2, when we actually launched, it went from fostering to we've adopted this. This is now ours.
Yeah. A lot of ownership year 2.
Yeah, I think it takes a second, because especially a parachute plant where you don't know the area, you weren't raised here, you don't have your heartstrings attached to the different areas, memories on all these streets that people grew up on. You don't know the background, you don't know what's happened here. You do your research, but you didn't live through these experiences that community went through.
Yeah, you don't know it, but you're also not limited by the experience.
Exactly.
So many times people would say, well, this is just how the area is.
Right.
This is what's happened before. And we go, great, we didn't know that. We don't have emotional attachment to that. We believe God's doing this.
Yeah,
you know?
So it's good in a sense that you're not capped out by what everybody else has been capped out by. Yeah. You're not lethargic from the things that have held back the community before that feel like they're never going to change. Right. You don't have any of that. But there is a sense that, but it does come to play in your emotional side of things where you're like, I want to love this thing like it's my own, but I don't understand it all yet. Right. So I think we gave ourselves grace the first year to just try and settle in and transition from fostering this region to adopting this region. This is now ours. This is ours forever. This child is now mine forever. And I think that's a big shift that's happened. And I think going into year 3 now that we're going to be here.
Yeah, that we've been in the area. Yeah.
Now it's forming. Like when you foster a child, at first you're just caring for them where they're at. You're not trying to make too many adjustments. You're just trying to cater everything that they have. Right. Year 2, and you've adopted, it's yours. Now let's face the reality that this is my child and we're here in this thing forever. Year 3 is like, let's start shaping you now. Let's start shaping you into what the design you actually have on your life, and the call that this community actually has to the rest of the world. Because I believe we're here, and our call in this community is not just to affect this community, but that this community would now affect the places around it, the outskirts of it. And I think that goes into what we're going to talk about with Buffalo later. Yeah,
it's so funny what you said about like how old the church is now and how it's been growing, because just the other day, Atlas came up and like was like, I wanted her to give me a hug, but like she like slapped me and was like, she like hit me. And Randy like didn't yell at her, didn't like smack her back or anything like that, but it was genuinely like a correction moment, calmed her down, had her understand what she was doing. And she's getting to that age now where she needs to be kind of corrected a little more and shaped. And it's the same within the ministry. Like a year, you know, a newborn church, you're just excited we're here. People are, this is awesome, so cute. Oh my gosh, I love it here. It's amazing. And then it's like, you know, the kid grows up and you got to start correcting and coaching and not losing sight of the vision, you know? And I think Pastor Obed, our home church pastor, he always said that, like, you parallel the age of your church to like raising a child. Yeah. When it's 3 years old, there's more that they understand, and there's also more that they're curious about. And they also now have the ability to take on other forms of people that they see. Yeah. So it's your job to make sure that you continue to shape them and really guard too what they're exposed to. If you think about it, like Everly right now, my niece is 3 years old, and depending on what music she listens to right now will determine what music she's interested in next year and the year after that and the year. So it's like we're formative stuff. Yeah, formative and protective too. I feel like at this age too, we're very protective of what's going on in our church and what's happening. Yeah, because your heart grows as the church grows, and you start to tap into people and stories and history. Like I think I did a lot of research when we planted the church about history of the area, revivals, and wanted to learn like what God had been doing there. But then you get in the local context and you have to learn the history of the local context. Like, well, this church was here before, or here's some of the church hurt that's here.
Well,
or,
I think 100 years back is great, but what happened 10 years ago?
Yeah, what's the climate like after COVID even?
Yeah.
Like, how are people processing life? And so we've really grown a heart for our area, but I think we've seen that like things started happening in our first year in our region, as I would say it, where all of Western New York started kind of having like little spurts of revival happening.
Well, and I'll say this too, is like, I remember when we first got here, there were, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 very specific words about Western New York, and the kind of revival that was coming and was on its way. And the first 2 years we were here, we were like, how is this, what revival? We're barely, like, obviously what we're doing in our small area in Fredonia, but as far as Western New York, like we weren't seeing a lot of that stuff, but you see it coming to play. I want to ask you too, what do you think? Because we moved, most of you guys know, we moved from LA to here. And so we were pastoring and you were pastoring in a big city like Long Beach, Torrance, and now we're in a small town. Yeah. What is like the biggest differences between big city leadership and small town leadership?
Well, I think big city leadership, there's so many options for people that you have to make sure you have systems in place. You have to be able to serve people on a consistent basis, but scale it. So like when we were leading in LA, you know, our campus was about the same size as our church right now. But the kind of leaders and the capacity of people that were there, they were always on the go. They were always moving. They wanted to make sure that when they were there, you were going to care for them and that you were going to be able to be reachable and, you know, you're going to be able to equip them. I feel like in small town, they want the same things, but their priority is, are you genuine? Are you going to take time to spend with me? You know, I used to go to meetings in LA where I would show up and spend an hour with somebody and be like, all right, I got to roll. I got the next meeting, spend an hour in the car and then go to the next meeting. Now it's like I spend an hour with somebody in Fredonia. I'm like, all right, I'm going to head out. And they go, where are you going? And I'm like, well, I'm going to go home. They're like, you live 2 minutes from here. Take another 10 minutes. Let's talk.
Oh, yeah. It goes from.
And that's ministry.
Yeah.
You know, that has been the biggest change is I thought that the goal of ministry was these big kind of elaborate things. And that's the fruit.
Yeah.
That's there when the main thing is done right. But I'm starting to realize ministry is picking up the phone at 10 o'clock at night when a drug addict wants to use and he's been coming to your small group. Ministry is waking up to, you know, pray for your family and your kids, but then also start texting men and women that never would have expected to get a text. I know you text women sometimes and they think it means the world to them that their pastor texts them at 6 a.m. and said, I'm covering you in prayer. So just those little genuine, authentic moments have been the big shift. Like, don't be in a rush to get to the platform. You need to spend time with your people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I think it's crazy. The rush of life at all has disappeared.
Yeah. We've really slowed down a lot.
And not just in our personal life. That's the climate of a small town. If you're going to a small town or you're a church planter and you're watching this or you're contemplating planting or you're looking into, you feel like God's calling you to this. If you feel like you're called to a small town, expect the pace of your life and your ministry to decrease. And that's not a bad thing. Because if you decrease, you know, the Bible says he increases, but expect the pace of life to decrease drastically where your meetings are not bam, 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 getting done, hurry, hurry, next thing to the next meeting. It's like, okay, we're all here. We have about 3 hours. Yeah. And they want to spend the first 45 minutes just catching up on life. And Absolutely. It's beautiful.
Come visit.
It's beautiful.
That's what I hear a lot of people in our congregation say, well, you're going to come visit for a little. And I'm like, come visit. They're like, you know, come and visit, like sit down and let's spend time together.
Just visit with each other.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, especially as high functioning leaders, it's easy to get in the habit of, I've got something to do and people are connecting me to accomplishing the task. But if you're going to be in ministry and care about people, people are the task. Yeah. So whatever in that moment is something you notice their need of, forget your plan and the 21 days and the packet you got to prep and, you know, the sermon you got to prepare for. Sometimes the most effective place to do ministry is sitting around a table with people that you know intimately.
Oh yeah. People, the URL download click link that you're getting prepared for your congregation, people will not click until you've sat down with them.
Absolutely.
Regularly, consistently, genuinely, prayerfully. Yeah, I think I want to ask you this too. What are the I wouldn't say pros and cons, but like 3 of the most beautiful things you've noticed of launching in a small town, and 3 of the most surprising, with almost a little bit more of a negative connotation. Yeah, challenges. 3 things in a small town.
I think some of the surprising things.
The good ones. Give me the 3. Good.
Yeah, the good things have been the like hunger of the kids out here, like elementary school kids, teenage kids. Like we've got testimonies of, you know, a 11-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl comes to church with her dad, the most shy, quiet person. Within 6 months, she's confidently going around taking pictures and serving and capturing these prophetic moments.
Oh, not me crying.
Yeah, like just seeing like young people that show up in our church and then they go, all right, this is going to be like a church I've maybe been to, and then they leave like on fire.
Yeah.
Like we had a men's Bible study. We do men's Bible study on Wednesdays now. We're watching The Chosen. And one guy brought, I want to say his son's like 12 or 13. I might be wrong. But he brought his son, and his son was like, all right, I'll go. And after The Chosen, after the discussion, soon as he gets out the building, I really enjoyed that. I'd like to come back.
Cute.
That has been surprising.
Do you think that that's unique to a small town?
No, I don't know if it's, I want to say yes and no, because no, in a sense that I think there is something in our younger generation that's kind of tired of how things have been going. And I think many people across the board can kind of go, yeah, we need to change in some areas. But I think it's yes to a small town because they've only been exposed to so much about God.
Yeah.
That God is kind of an ideal, and an ideal, it's like an ideology, you know, and it's something that we've really shown them, like, it doesn't matter how old you are, God, expect God to move in your life.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been really cool. The family aspect has been so good, you know, to sit around with people that are here to build the church, but also be a part of your life has been huge. And then I would just say the support from other churches. Like it wasn't immediate that we had connection with other churches, but I think once we got some fruit in our ministry, a lot of men and women of God
are honoring this. I
mean, if they get in touch with us, I met a pastor recently at an event and he said, I watch your sermons every week. And I was like surprised because I'm thinking like, you know, everyone always says churches are territorial. It's like, we got to stop saying that if we want to see it change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was so cool. That was surprising.
So those are 3 good. Tell me some challenges about small towns that you just weren't expecting. Maybe you heard them before, but they actually happened in our
I think I wasn't expecting as many rumors have been started. Like
gossip.
Gossip. Like I know people say everyone gossips.
I think that's number 1 on my list.
Number 1 was, it was challenging to come into a town where, like when we moved from California to this small town, we took a 60% pay cut. And the first rumor started about us was, you guys are here just to take money. And I'm sitting here going, you have no idea how hard it's been, you know, but it's like, okay.
We had ravioli all last week.
Yeah,
Chef Boyardee.
Top ramen, y'all get off of me. You know, so the gossip and the rumors obviously was one.
That was definitely like alarming. Yeah. Because of course gossip happens everywhere. It happened in LA, but there was 6 million people.
Yeah, it's different when like people are actually next door or like down the street and they're actually talking about you. Yeah. Because there's rumors they've said, I don't even want to share some of them because it was just so alarming. Yeah. But it was a reminder that like God's called us to an area that doesn't have anybody like us. So you can't come into an untouched area and expect it to not shake up a little bit.
Yeah.
So the gossip was one thing. I think just the small town, like when I moved to a small town, I wasn't expecting it to be, I don't want to say boring, but it's like if you don't keep yourself productive and inspired, you can easily just blend in with just we're just out here.
Yeah.
You know, like I got to wake up.
Just the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's been a challenge. Personally, like I got to wake up with inspiration and I got to drive down the streets of my city and pray God's word over them. And when I go to, you know, the area that maybe some people would say it's run down, like I got to say like, no, these dry bones will live.
Yeah.
And so it was challenging, I think, to really keep that going.
Okay.
What about you? What was the challenge?
Like something that shocked me too?
Like moving to a small town, what was one of the things that shocked you?
I think like faith level, honestly, in some ways was like, well, it's never happened here before, so it's not going to happen. Yeah. Or, you know, this bad thing happened 15 years ago in our community, so we're never going to give that a chance again.
Like people like give up completely.
Yeah. And I don't even think, I think these are of course 3 small things that were not so good as we began to learn our community that are outweighed by thousands of other incredible things in our area. But I think a big part of it was like, I mean, even down to like the beginning fundraising stages and like when we said we wanted to launch with you know, a 50-person volunteer dream team.
Yeah,
like
we
volunteer
started
team.
using numbers, and people
Were
were
like,
"How's
there's
that
no
gonna
way.
happen?"
Yeah. But I think it's because, like you said, not just with the children, but there's just been such a low amount of exposure to what God is actually capable of when there's a room full of faith-filled people. Yeah. And I think if there's anything that I'm learning is that the level that our faith is at determines the level that our people's faith will be at. Like the level of joy that we carry, we exemplify. Like we have to be okay with, and church planters, we have to be okay with being, what did we say this last year? It was like, we are this, like, I don't know, it was more like the standard, I guess.
Yeah, the thermostat, we set the temperature.
Yeah, that kind of thing, along those lines.
Well, I've heard something like that, like your church doesn't outgrow the spiritual pace of the leadership.
Yeah.
And so what God is doing is important to keep that in us. You know?
So it's challenged me to really, really live like a life of faith in my mind too, not externally, because it's easy to get up there and externally be like, I got faith, we got faith for it. But in my mind, I was renewing my mind this year to really say, I have to like believe with full faith that God's going to do everything that he said he's going to do, because you see the low lying amount of faith in this area. This is what really shocked me. And I guess this is not just a small town, but this is like literally like the region, the weather. When winter comes, like depression falls on this area. Like it's dark. You don't see the sun for 2 months. Like you can't go outside. You can't be doing things regularly. The lake is closed because it's frozen over. And that was definitely a shock, but yeah.
Yeah. I think too, what you're saying about faith is so big, because when you go to plant a church in a city, you obviously had the faith to show up. And you have the faith for the vision of the church, and you have the faith for everything that you believe God wants to do in that area. But sometimes it takes something in the community to happen to get everyone else that's been there on board.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like, I need everyone that's there to come in agreement and kind of get in line with what we feel God is doing. But sometimes it takes a little shaking in the area to get people to go, oh, we do need God.
Yeah.
Or to confirm revival. Like we had been praying for revival. We've been praying for revival in New York, Western New York, Buffalo, all the way up and down. And then like, I remember when the shooting took place in Buffalo and something happened in a local context that all of a sudden made people's hearts go, what do? We need something.
Yeah.
And we saw just so many people in our community just show up in support of that, just praying, donating money. We have obviously friends up in Buffalo. Shout out to Epic Church and Mark Rouse up in Buffalo. You know, they were there on site at the Tops supermarket a couple of days after it happened.
Yeah, this is about 45 minutes north of us, right?
45 minutes north from our community. And you've heard about that. It happened last year.
It was horribly tragic. But I will say, and a lot of locals have told us this, there is nothing like Western New York strong.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. And I will attest to that. I have never seen a community as strong and banded together and united than I see in Buffalo and in our surrounding area in Chautauqua County and Erie County. There is nothing like it. Like the grief that fell on our community could have easily like weighed everybody down to the ground, but it was like, you saw people banding together. You saw unity. You saw us grieve together.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't this blame that was placed. There was this awareness of what happened and why it happened, confrontation, unification, but there wasn't like this anger towards everybody. It was just like, let's hold each other because this can't keep happening.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the part where like the territories and the, competitions and ministries, it's like, who cares? There's hurting people that are trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And we know some friends, Revival Fire Network, they're called. They go around, serve people. We've given them cash. We've sent them volunteers. We support their ministry. But they were there on site. And I had gone to go meet the pastor of this church, Pastor Mark, maybe a few months before the shooting happened. And we connected.
We did an ARC gathering with them.
We did. We went up to one of their prayer services. It was an ARC thing. And we connected with them and just stayed in touch, always text each other and made sure that I included him like in our prayers in terms of churches we're praying for and just what God's doing up there. And out of the blue, I get a call from one of my friends, Tyshawn. And Tyshawn reaches out and Tyshawn has an incredible story, lost family in a mass shooting himself. And, he calls me and he's like, man, I know this sounds crazy, but I need Buffalo. And he's like, I just feel like I need to be on the ground. And he told me his testimony, told me everything. And I'm like, bro, I know exactly who to connect you with. And so I connected him with Pastor Mark, and Pastor Mark flies him out.
Yep.
Like right away. Tyshawn gets on the ground. He shows up to the supermarket, and within a few hours, he met with like 6 different families of victims.
Yep.
Shared his story, prayed for them. And from that trip, he actually started a whole organization.
It was, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So
shout out Blackwell Edwards Foundation. If you guys are looking for a nonprofit, something that deals with the shootings that take place in our country.
Families of the mass shootings.
Yeah, what Tyshawn and his team do now is whenever there's a shooting, they reach out to those affected. They provide financial support, crisis counseling, and they like take care of like the kids. Like,
especially if there's displaced children, they really make sure that they still have a pathway to being with Jesus, and they'll pay for summer camps for them, take them on trips, do one-on-one connections. He was a youth pastor. Him and his wife were really a part of a youth ministry and travel. They still travel to this day, and really have dealt with the next generation. So you have to imagine how many displaced children are left without their parents because of these like horrible tragedies. Yeah. And so I think what they're doing is really incredible. And so if you have a heart for it, if you're somebody who's like constantly, your heart is weighed down every time you hear these news, you posting stuff, don't let your post be enough. Really like connect to an organization like this if you have a heart for it.
Yep. And in 2023, they're going to host an event for the families and victims of the Buffalo shooting. So if you're a Western New Yorker, go check out Blackwell Edwards Foundation on Instagram and stay in touch with them, because I just love that. You know, we're going to be there at that event, support however we can. Because this is the thing. When you're a church planner, sometimes you think you've got the solution for every problem in your city. And there's most likely people already doing what you think you have the solution for. So sometimes great leaders don't just initiate things. Great leaders support and undergird and pray for and encourage the people that have been doing it.
Yeah.
And we love Tyshawn. We love Vic. We love just what they're about. And, you know, shouts to them. And so the Buffalo shooting really tightened up our family, I think, and made our community go like, okay, we need each other.
We need to do something.
Yeah, we need to be in church so that we can keep understanding that when this stuff happens, we've got a good grasp on how to respond. Yeah,
we're spiritually the first responders. Yes. And I think people are really started to take that role on seriously.
Yeah, so we had great, great kind of end of the year, and things kind of continued. We did outreach throughout the year. We've done different events to, support people. And then in November, we got word of this like crazy storm that was supposed to happen. And I remember people were telling us this is gonna be like one of the most crazy storms we've had. People were saying it was gonna be like 5 feet of snow in Buffalo. And the week before it actually came, I remember hearing about it and being like, yeah, right. Like there's no way. Yep. Like it's not gonna be like that.
They said it was going to be like
Arctic blast, cold front, like all kinds of these terms that I've never heard of in my life. Like we're used to like cold, like 60 degrees in the morning of the desert cold.
We're used to like the opposite. 130 degree heat.
Sure enough, it came. Buffalo woke up to.
We were going into Christmas weekend, and the snow started, I think, on Friday night, and it was the 23rd. And on the 24th, going into the 24th onto Christmas Eve, it picked up like unexplainably. And Friday, I think it was Friday in the middle of the day, it started to pick up. And there were a lot of businesses that didn't close, a lot of companies that didn't send their employees home, a lot of first responders trying to get into their jobs so that they could station there for the next 72 hours. And a lot of people didn't make it to where they were going the day before Christmas Eve.
We had people that were up there that were calling us like, we're stuck. I can't get my truck out of the snow. I'm trying to get to my daughters. Their power is out. Or, we know throughway workers that were up there like trying to help people. And got to a point where people were getting stranded in their cars. I think like the first day that I'd heard it was 6 deaths. Is when I knew, like they said 6 people have died, and that was in the very beginning, going into Friday night, because by Friday night there was zero visibility in any of the roads and streets and throughways, and just right outside people's doors. The winds were so high; it was over 50-mile-an-hour winds, and 37 people was the total death toll.
Yeah, and it was really sad. It wasn't just you got the number 37. It was like. People were waiting for family members on Christmas Eve. Power started going out. People didn't have enough food for supply. And not because they were lazy or because they didn't prepare for the storm. They didn't have the financial freedom to go buy 4 days of groceries. And it was really, really heartbreaking because there was nothing anyone could do. Not even snowmobilers, not even first responders, police officers. There was zero visibility, so you couldn't see anything. There was no saving anybody. Yeah. So it was
tough.
It was really hard to sit at home and know that there are people in their cars. And it's crazy because Buffalo stood up so tall. They started these Facebook groups, Buffalo Blizzard pages, 2022 storms, like all of these things started coming out and people were sending updates. My family's on the cross street of this and this. Is anybody near there? My family's here. The last time I talked to my significant other, they were on this road by this exit on this street. And there were people within safe distance going and getting people out of their cars, bringing them into their homes. There were stories of
like Ben, my brother-in-law went up there with a bunch of his guys in snowmobiles and they were giving people rides to like the police department to like identify bodies, and they were like helping people get from their home to the hospital to search if their family
it was
there.
even let me get you inside somewhere. There were thousands of cases of frostbite, hypothermia. Frostbite is not like a funny thing that you see in movies. It's a serious problem that can cause amputation and all of these things like that. And so it was really hard to watch, but you just saw the community start to rise. I mean, I'm telling you, there was a story of a family that the son was on a ventilator and this woman had to breathe in to an air pump and went into her son, her and her significant other, for 72 hours to keep him alive before they could get him to the hospital. And there were like insane stories, but I'm telling you, there's nothing like Buffalo strong.
Yeah. There was a story about a couple, woman went into labor, couldn't get to the hospital, and the neighbors came over, dug into the house to get in and helped deliver the baby. Yeah. It's like a national story, the Blizzard baby born in the house. And you know, our Mariah had her son the next day, next day. So we're in connection.
Okay, so it's Christmas Day.
We're talking to people and we're working with churches and like, you know, we're obviously doing as much as we can from where we're at. Because I think a church is.
There was also a driving ban. Sorry.
There was a driving ban.
So we couldn't drive up there. There was no going out there.
It was kind of like an officials thing. But, you know, I think the church is not the place people should retreat when there's a tragedy. The church has to respond to tragedy.
Send out.
We got to meet people in the tragedy and be there for them. And we were trying to do that. But then my brother-in-law was like, bro, if you go up and help people, I was telling him, like, he sent a bunch of his staff up there and he sent a bunch of his equipment up there, which is already crazy. And I just told him, like, bro, your wife's about to go into labor. Don't go. And sure enough, in the middle of the storm, Mariah goes into labor. Yeah. What was that like for you when you got that call?
So this is Sunday night. The driving ban's still on, but people are getting power back. And like, there's a few things happening because there's a big concern that my she's 10 days away from her due date. Yeah. She had she had Everly a week early. So we knew that, you know, the time was coming, but our local hospital, because the storm was so bad, was closed.
Yeah. They weren't taking any maternity.
Just closed. So I got a call on the 26th at like 5 something in the morning. And it was Mariah saying, I'm in labor and dad's going to drive me to the hospital because Ben is on his way home and he's going to have to turn around and get back on his snowmobile because the truck's not going to make it. So
can't make this up.
My sister comes with my dad, and thank God my dad has a giant truck.
Yeah. A lot of cap space.
Yeah. Amen. Almost had to use that. Get in the car at like 5 in the morning and we're driving. There's still a driving ban. Thank God there's visibility on the roads, but not even 50% of the city had been plowed. It was like 5 feet of snow in certain places. So we drive and my sister labors in the car for an hour and a half straight. We arrive.
Hold on a second. Did you at all one point think that you might have to deliver the baby?
Yes. You don't have to finish your question. Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine?
No.
Everest, if you're watching this, that's how close your Tia was to be in the dock.
Listen, we called when we were 30 minutes away. Now, mind you, Buffalo's only 45 minutes, but because of the storm, it was an hour and a half. So we are driving and I call the hospital and we're 35 minutes away and I'm like, hi, I'm coming with my sister as Mariah's, you know, screaming in the background, laboring. She's a boss though, y'all. I'm just saying that, Mariah, you're a boss. 35 minutes away, and I'm like, her contractions are lasting 2.5 minutes and they're a minute apart. And I think we're going to be there in 30 minutes. So can you have something ready? Because we think she's going to give birth like right when she gets there. And the nurse goes, okay, well, we have the L&D doctors and nurses standing around the phone just in case we have to walk you through anything.
Oh my gosh.
And
so wait a minute. When you're talking to the person, she says, I've got all the experts here just in case we got to tell you how to do this.
Yeah. I didn't tell Mariah that though.
No, she would have freaked.
Because I didn't want her to freak out. And so she's sitting in the front seat, and I literally set up pillows. Yep. She's throwing, we have barf bags just in case. Cut them, lay them on the seat, and I'm sitting there like, you very well may have to come lay back here and have this child right here.
Oh my gosh.
A swaddling. This child needs to be swaddled.
For Christmas.
And we really thought, I was like, do you need to come back here? And she's like, if I lay down, I'm gonna have the baby. So she was sitting like facing the passenger seat.
She's like holding him in.
Yes, literally. We arrive at the hospital at 6:28. There's a gurney, a baby warmer, and a wheelchair. Determining which of the three we'll have to use. They were all out there. Whole staff was standing at the circle. Get Mariah in the wheelchair, run to the elevator, run to the bed, and from 6:28, he was born at 6:33 a.m.
Dude, showed up at the hospital at 6:28. He was born at 6:33. No time for IVs. Epidural, who? None of that. She legit just has the baby, and it was pretty awesome. Yeah, we lost the light here too, so trying a new setup.
Okay, yeah, it was really crazy. He was born on the 26th, and my goodness, it was wild. It was definitely wild.
So what is the worst case scenario? Like the baby's still born. Is it for you giving birth in the car? Would that have been the craziest thing? Do you think you would have owned it?
I feel like I would have been fine. I was just more concerned on whether or not her and the baby were going to be okay after he came out. Because cord clamping, like removing fluid from their ears, eyes, mouth, and nose. Like I want to, that's determining whether or not they can breathe. After they're right after they're born, and then blood loss from Mariah, if it was going to be watched and managed. If we had to have that baby handed down, we got this, but are they going to be safe after everything happens was my biggest concern. Sure. So
would have been having the baby while he would have kept driving.
Yeah.
And it would have been like chum chum and handed.
Well, we would have
handed it like they would have cut the umbilical cord in the parking lot.
Yeah, there was a moment we were stuck behind a semi truck and you couldn't you couldn't go around because if you speed up, you fishtail because there's so much snow on the ground.
So when you were behind it, were you like, hurry, we gotta get past this. See, I feel like that is my anxiety in a moment described. Pregnant woman about to give birth, we're stuck behind a car. That's what my chest feels like.
My dad was like trying to go around it, but we fishtailed almost into the back of the semi.
That's crazy.
So he was like, we just have to wait.
That's crazy.
And you could my dad was silent the whole way. I feel so bad for him. Mariah kept saying, I feel like I traumatized you. I'm like, no, girl. You got me ready, baby.
Yeah, we ready now.
Yeah. So he was born healthy, her healthy. They're all home. Incredible. It was amazing.
He is so awesome.
I feel so honored to have been a part of that whole journey.
That's
that
cool.
process.
So special too.
Yeah.
And you'll see him on our vlog. Make sure you go check out some of those videos because we're going to show them eventually, I'm sure. But that was like a huge staple moment. For sure. So we get past Christmas, we get into the new year, and there's still, we know ministry. We've been supporting ministries, and we're doing a drive right now for some of the stuff because the storm is still happening, and it's a really bizarre place to be as a leader in your community that has like a birth in your family, and you're so excited for this miracle of life, but also at the same time there's tragedy happening in your community. So absolutely,
it's a very bizarre.
I feel like as leaders, we manage that tension all the time. Like because of what we do, we're naturally in the messiness of life, but we also have a life too. And we have stuff that God's doing. And so we show up filled with faith for others. But then there's moments like, last night where we need our own time.
Yeah.
So it's a tension you're always managing. You don't want to always celebrate your own successes when other people are grieving.
Yeah.
But you also too want to be able to manage the difference,
Yeah.
And know that. So Christmas comes, New Year's Day, Saturday night, the Buffalo Bills play. And that was a thing.
It was Monday Night Football.
Oh, so it was the day after?
It was the second. It was January 2nd.
I thought it was Saturday night. Yeah, it's January 2nd. So January 2nd, they play. And, when we moved to the area, we knew that it was a Buffalo Bills area. Let's talk about the Bills for a second.
Now I'm in love with them.
Oh, I love the Bills.
At first I was like, nah,
and all my haters out there, some of y'all still don't think that I'm a legit Bills fan.
Okay, I think it was my fault. I repent.
Yeah.
I repent. Listen, okay. Billy has in the past had an issue of jumping teams, But
Set it straight.
but he's never had a football team. He's never supported
had
a football team.
So we need to make that clear.
Okay.
Because I've never watched football. My friend Joseph will tell you that. I was always left out of football conversations. They go into a football thing and I'd be like, okay. Want to talk about theology? But anyways, so when we moved, I decided, okay, I'm gonna be a Bills fan, and it was, because I wanted to genuinely get to follow a team and support a team. But a bunch of the reason too was I wanted to connect with people, and I was like, okay, I'll join this fandom, and I didn't know I was joining a mafia.
Oh yeah,
because it is like ride or die out there, and we love it. We'll get
I love it.
Yeah, we love it.
I can't wait to go to a game
on
one
Sunday
day.
mornings during season. People are showing up, all Bills.
Oh my gosh, there will be a family of 7.
7 people in the family, all wearing Josh Allen gear, or wearing Bills stuff. So, we just started watching the Bills. The last 2 seasons have been rough. We got knocked out by the Chiefs in the playoffs both times.
We already beat them this season.
So anyway, get to this 3rd season. We're feeling good about the season. I'm talking about football to people. I'm like actually knowing stats and stuff. And the new year comes. We watch Monday Night Football, and one of our players gets hurt. Damar Hamlin gets hurt. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know by now, but I'm sure you know, this is one of the rarest injuries that's ever happened on the NFL field, like on that platform. There's been some serious hits. People have
concussions.
people have been taken off on stretchers, but we always see someone get hit, put on the stretcher, and then they always still do this, and everyone cheers. Or once they get like wheeled off, Damar Hamlin gets hit, stands back up, and then collapses. And it was so scary how it collapsed because you saw him trying to grab the guy next to him as he fell. And it was one of those baseball rare injuries when something hits your chest just at the right time and it presses your heart the right way.
Intensity, yeah.
Yeah, and it just causes your heart to stop.
Yep.
And the dude died on the field.
Yeah, fell to the ground.
Was gone. I think it was like 9 minutes. I know you said 3, but I had heard it was like longer.
Yeah.
One of the coaches runs out. They give CPR to him. He gets taken out.
CPR for 20 minutes straight.
Yeah.
That means that he was non-responsive for that length of time.
This entire time, Bills fans,
silence.
Bills fans are all silent.
And this is a rival.
In Cincinnati. This was against the Bengals. And so, the whole stadium's silent and all the players are just praying. People are kneeling down praying. You see coach crying.
I mean, after about 10 minutes, you see some of the team members unable to stay composed because of how horrible this sight is.
What just happened. Yeah.
So
game gets suspended,
which ESPN took a few
minutes. That never
happens. Well, at first they didn't want to suspend the game.
No, they wanted to postpone
2 minutes. They said they gave them
they
gave them a 2-minute warning. We're gonna start the game again, and none of the players wanted to play. ESPN, what's up?
Yeah,
that wasn't great. That was crazy to watch.
It was,
but then there was an uproar and immediate. That you could tell the unification of the team. Sports went out the window. It was all these men and women around each other in a circle in the middle of the field that were like, "We're not doing anything until this is handled." So
I mean, we just started. It's crazy because when the injury happened, we were
walking out of Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, we were at Dave and Buster's with a bunch of friends, and it's Monday's our Sabbath, so we had some people. Addie was out there with us, and we left, and we saw him get injured. Jumped in the car, drove home, put the baby to sleep. Got everything done. I go downstairs and I'm like, surely the game's over. And as I turned it on, they were just driving him off. And I'm like, what just happened? The first thing I started thinking about was all of our people from church, all our Bills fans, all the people that
because Buffalo has already been through so much.
Sure. Yeah.
Like this community has endured. Yeah. And endured and hit after hit after hit. And it seems like, football players going to take. No, this isn't. This is more than football. This is a community of people, this family of people that has just Christmas the week before seen half of their community fall to the ground. Like, it's just, they've been through a lot. We've been through a lot as a community. Yeah. So immediately all these names and faces coming in our mind.
Oh my gosh, how is she doing? Oh, how are they doing? Oh my gosh, he's a crazy Bills fan. What is he thinking?
Oh my gosh, and then this family that had to, that you see and everything on social media is pumping out.
Everything on social media.
So you see Hamlin greeting his family right before the game, super excited. His mom is there, so pumped. So then you're thinking about that a mom had to watch her son collapse on the field. And it's just all of these emotions and anxieties and worry. And how do you respond? And how do you support? And how do you love people through this? How do you make sense of this? Over and over and over for this community.
Because that's what Buffalo had felt like. Like you said, it felt like a hit and then a feint. And something came against us and then fell back. And I think it was that night, I made a few phone calls that night. Tuesday, I talked to a few people, just how you feeling? People still in tears. Some people were up all night.
And we've just been praying. This whole time we're praying. We're posting, pray for this, pray for the family.
For the player and praying for the Bills and praying for the area, praying for our friends that love the Bills. And So just throughout the week, you start seeing on social media how much prayer starts to become a factor. You start to see like the Bills players posting about pray for DeMar. You start to see all these pastors, churches pray for DeMar.
And then you see
churches getting lit up with Buffalo Bills colors, other stadiums being lit up. Like everyone starts.
Oh yeah, I think it was the next day. It was like 72 professional teams.
Yeah,
pray for DeMar.
Like not even some football teams. They're like pray for DeMar. And then it was one of the games. I don't remember which game it was. I think it was It was the Eagles and somebody else. But they all they had talked before the game. And the coaches said, before we start the game, we want every team member and every team, we're going to meet at midfield and we're going to get down on our knees and pray. And to start an NFL game, you start to see the cameras going around as all these men are on the field. And one of the biggest, I mean, you know how many people talk about football being like idolatrous in America and how it's like you don't go to church, but you go to football. Look how God invaded football. That's on the stadium. Crazy.
Days before that, though.
That was the same day. Yeah, he did the same thing.
That was the same day. That was that Monday?
No, not that Monday. This is a different game.
This is what I'm saying.
The same guy.
What same guy?
Oh, what were we going to say days before?
The same day that the accident happened, on live television, on a sports news page, the anchor stops the show and prays for DeMar.
Yeah, he prayed that week, yep.
It was that week or that day or something like that. But on live television.
Yeah, he said, I forget his name too. We were just watching him. Thank God he's got a job, huh? He was saying how, all week I've been seeing people saying prayers for DeMar and we're praying for DeMar. And he goes, and I don't know, I would just like to pray for him right now. And he says, so I'm just going to do this. And the other anchor too, he's like, amen.
And he takes his earpiece out and he prays on live television.
On ESPN. And that clip shared, I saw pastors sharing that clip. And you start to realize in the midst of tragedy, it's no coincidence. That after a storm like that, it's one of our guys that goes down like that and starts like a desire for prayer. I told our church,
Did you know that DeMar Hamlin is the prayer captain of the team? That he's the one every Wednesday that gathers all the team together and they pray on Wednesday
I saw
mornings?
one of his tweets. He says, if I never play football again, it's okay. I understand why God put me on this earth to reunite this country in prayer.
Jesus.
And that ignited me as a pastor.
Well, it's starting to make sense. And when we, all those words for all those years that revival's going to start in Buffalo, it took some breaking down and it took some chipping away at the hard exterior of our community. And it required us to lean on each other and love each other again. And all of this prayer stirring up. See, I see pastors and leaders complaining about, oh, well, what about when Tim Tebow tried to be about Jesus and you guys this? What about when the NFL? That doesn't matter anymore. Revival's here now. You're going to miss the wave complaining about how you were mistreated before if you're not going to focus on what God's doing right in front of us.
That's so true.
And it was like all this stuff. And then this past game, just yesterday.
Well, yeah, it was crazy because we go to church and we have we had like it felt like revival.
It felt like revival.
It felt like revival, dude. It was like a Sunday where I think there was so much excitement in the air just for like how much God had been moving that week and how people were seeing God on TV and just like, everything that was really going on. And then we play after church Sunday. And the first play, we're playing against the Patriots, last game of the regular season. Playoffs start next week, y'all. So come get us. But we're playing the Patriots. And the first play, Naeem Hiles kickoff return. From the end zone, runs it all the way back. And the images are just awesome of him like throwing the ball up as he jumps into the crowd. Sean McDermott's crying, our head coach. Josh Allen's got his hands on his face. Like, what just happened? And it was almost like spiritual. It was like...
It was.
It was.
It was not kind of. It was.
It was. And then later on in the game, Hiles had a second kickoff return.
Which that hasn't happened.
Yeah, so then he says...
So then Josh Allen gets in post-game.
Oh, yeah, say that.
Post-game interview.
Yeah, Hines. Not Naeem Hiles, not Hines.
Hines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Allen gets in post-game interview, and he's in tears, and he says... that starting play, he hasn't done a kickoff return in 3 years and 3 months. And DeMar Hamlin's number is 3. And so he just said, you can't write this. God is real. Like, we'll insert the clip if we can here. And it was crazy. And it's revival. Revival's breaking out. And if there's one way to get in the heart of the Buffalonian people, it's to get them through the Bills.
Yeah.
The way you're going to get to the heart of Buffalo is you got to get to the heart of the Bills.
So true.
And that's what God's doing. And I think it's beautiful to watch someone like DeMar be so willing to be used, even if it means your life is on the line.
Even if it means your life's on the line.
Your future, your career, your money, all that's on the line. And that he's that willing, it's...
Nyheim Hines.
Nyheim. Yeah, Nyheim Hines.
Nyheim Hines.
There's a whole YouTube video just how to pronounce his name. I said Nyheim or something. Nyheim Hines. That was epic.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was epic. And like you said, I love that he was willing. You know, I think that's just the thing of faith, though. It's like once you start to see the greater picture, I think all of us, like as bad as a situation can be, when you see that kind of spreading
Impact.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, God, if that's what it took. And yeah, he forever will be a big part, I think, of church history. Because, maybe not church history, but like revival history, because something took place spiritually amongst our team.
Well, I mean, we
like
were
Josh Allen is on an interview saying God is real. Like,
oh my gosh.
like,
well, we're getting texts on
crazy.
Sunday saying he's gone. DeMar Hamlin's gone. That's it. He's dead after this. He shouldn't have woken up at all.
Yeah.
And if he did wake up, he shouldn't have woken up with brain activity.
Yeah, it's epic.
He should not have woken up with capability to move his body, for his lungs to breathe on their own. Within 24 hours, the man
got up.
Is up. And the first question he asks is,
who won the game? Yeah, he writes who won the game. So cool. Yeah. Look for those. If you're a church planner, look for those connection points in your community. Like at the end of the day, you know, we love football and we love community and all that, but like we love the kingdom of God, and somehow he always finds a way to get it in our stuff. You know, he is not going to wait if he wants to reveal himself. And so how do you feel, you know, just where we're at now? We're a week into the year of increase.
Oh, it's,
we prophetically called the church year the year of increase. We've seen miracles in our own life.
First 9 days,
8
days.
In our church's life. We just had one of the biggest breakthroughs in our church's history that we'll be able to share soon with you guys. And like,
well, you can, if you want to know what it is, just watch Launch Sunday's service. Anniversary Sunday
service. Yeah, watch our anniversary service. We'll announce the news there. But yeah, how do you feel? That's just like going into this year now.
I feel like I said, we kind of made that big transition between foster and adopting and now shaping. And so I'm more in love with my community than ever before. I feel like we're in you and I are in a really amazing place. Atlas is in a great place. I think, I feel really confident. I feel really excited. I'm feeling super fulfilled, really fulfilled. And I think foundationally, the way that we're starting this year is going to just have a lot to do with the remainder of it, you know? And so...
yeah, we just started 21 days of prayer and fasting.
I'm in love with Jesus, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, it feels great to start your year with the foundational things that matter: prayer, community, family, vision. We usually end the year talking about the following year. And one of the things you did is kind of write down stuff you're believing for next year. So you're just saying, when I get to next year, you know, I'm believing these things are going to have happened. And in the course of 7 days, some of those things have already happened.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage you, whether you're a church planner, a pastor, just a normal Christian, average, every day, maybe you don't even consider yourself a believer yet. We want to encourage you to expect God to move in your life. You know, I believe he moves at the level of our expectations sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking about just name and claim it, but expectation for something that's already in line with his character and his nature. And for us, we've realized, like, you're not going to lead someone to a place you haven't been. And so every day we've committed to starting our day with the Lord. I don't see you sometimes until I see him, you know, and it's like that principle doesn't shake. It doesn't matter how big or small your ministry is. If you ain't praying, that thing ain't staying. I like that. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I wasn't gonna say that thing ain't growing, but you know.
No, I think it's good. I think it's important. That's great advice. Like, write it out, make it plain. Where there's no vision, people perish. Like, all of that stuff, very true. So don't wonder why 2022 went the way that it went if you didn't set time apart to plan and hear what the Lord was going to do for the year.
Yeah, 100%. I was praying in our church building on Saturday, and just by myself, and you know, it was empty. There's like 130 that can fit in there. And I just was praying and spending time with Jesus, loving on him, praying over every seat, praying in the Spirit, you know, listening to hymns and stuff, trying to bring some of those old wells out. And just, I felt like the Holy Spirit reminded me, like, if you don't believe me when this place is empty, I'll never fill it. And that Sunday, second service, we were jam-packed, man. You know, we had ministry time, altar time, no matter how strategic the church gets, it cannot lose the space for the supernatural encounter.
Amen.
And there has to be some time in your service experience where you're laying hands on people, where the power of God is moving, and you're saying, we can only do so much. We need him. And it's just been an awesome 2 Sundays. To be here already.
Yeah.
You know, it feels really, really cool. So what are we doing the rest of today?
We're going to the Rock of Fall of Fame.
I think we're going to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's like an exhibit I want to show you. Like Alicia Keys has a whole thing. There's like a whole hip hop section I want to check
Alicia
out.
Keys, love
I'm pretty
Adele.
sure Tupac has a section. B.I.G.'s in there. So that'll be on our vlog. If you're not subscribed to our channel, which is really my channel, but it's ours.
I'm the star of your show.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Go check out our playlist of vlogs, because today we're going to show you some of Cleveland. And the Cleveland vlog's going to be all black and white.
It's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're also probably going to stop by the library, which is right across the street. It's a public library. It's a gigantic building, super beautiful. Architecture here, that's something that's really unique. You'll see it in the vlog, though.
Yep. Yeah, but we love you. Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, we appreciate you.
Yes.
And we are believing the best for 2023 in your life.
Amen.
And stay in touch with us. Leave a comment. Let us know if you liked the episode. Let us know if you want to hear us talk about anything. I almost want to do like a live stream sometime where we set it up and just people can ask questions.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. We know you got questions, so hit us up. And yeah, it's With the Heathers, y'all.
Love y'all.